Hello everybody, and welcome to a first impressions video of the latest Kirby game, or I should say the latest demo of the latest Kirby game. And that is, of course, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And so, I got the demo, have the game pre-ordered and all of that, and I gotta say, for only 3 levels, an obvious beginner tutorial level, an actual level, and then a boss fight, out of that alone, I have quite a bit I want to say, actually. Number one, I just love the controls and how the game just plays in general. Kirby is so fluid and smooth, and everything about it is just perfect. The jumping and the floating, it's natural. It feels like this is logically how Kirby would play. As far as sucking up enemies go, I do wish you were just a teeny bit faster while inhaling things, but that's whatever. And then, of course, there's the copy abilities themselves, which is where, my only real complaints come from, is the fact that I'm worried that the majority of the copy abilities will not be, they won't transition well into, they won't transition well into 3D, and of course that comes down to the way the majority of them work. And of course, the copy abilities specifically, the ones that we got to play in the demo, are for the sword, the cutter, the bomb, and ice. So starting off with the sword, I think the sword plays great in 3D. It works exactly how you would expect it would, and using the sword, especially against the bigger grand scale bosses, to me at least, it feels much more, cinematic? Is that the word I want to say? It feels more grand and adventurous. And then, of course, moving off the cutter, I think, hands down, the cutter's always been alright for me. It's always been a good secondary ability. But in this game, the cutter's fucking overpowered. So, you throw it, and then if you hold down the B button, which is, your attack button, the cutter just, stays there and spins. It gets more and more powerful until you let go, and it comes back to you, and it can deal massive damage. And for the mini-boss in the second level, it is just unbelievably overpowered and easy. The bombs, that's where my issues come from, and which makes me think the majority of the copy abilities will not translate well into 3D, is because, you throw the bombs, you can roll the bombs as normal, but when you do that, they don't explode. They explode, but, I timed it out. It takes, 30 seconds I wanted to say? I don't know. I didn't actually time it out. I just, sat there and, waited, And it took forever for one bomb to just explode on its own. And so yeah, I don't think the bombs are going to be a very useful copy ability in the game overall. Ice, only got to use it during the boss fight. I used it once, and I thought it was alright. Again, not the best ability, but copy abilities that I'm specifically worried about are, Beam and, trying to think. Let's see, it's Beam, Fire, and Stone, I think, are the ones that I'm worried about the most. I don't really use Stone all that often. I think it's a bit too slow. Fire, again, I'm kind of worried about Fire and Water, as those play very similar to Ice. I'm a bit worried about those, if they're even in, which of course they are in the game. And Beam. Beam is when it comes to my top 3 Kirby abilities, it's in this order specifically. Sword, Beam, and then Cutter. I know I said Cutter was kind of a good secondary, but it kind of influences, depending on the game. Because with modern day Kirby games, it's Sword and Beam. I want one of these 2 abilities, and recently I've kind of included Water and Fire into that, maybe Ice, but again, I'm worried about how some copy abilities will play. As far as the level design goes, I like it. It's nice, big, and open for a 3D game. Lots of areas for the developers to hide things, and I think it'll be really fun. And then, of course, the music, as you can hear, is fucking amazing. I love it. It's so orchestral, it's so big and grand. Just like and you know, the story, I mean, it's nothing special, really. I mean, Kirby gets sucked up into a vortex, which is weird. He kind of like mutates, and speaking of the mutation Kirby goes through, the mouthful mode, I really like. Starting off the car, it's really fun. It controls way better than I thought it would. Like, you know, I figured it'd control okay, like Mario Kart, you know, but, you know, scaled down a lot. But it honestly works way better than I ever thought it would. It's kind of hard to describe, you know, controls, especially when I'm not showing gameplay, because, you know, poor dumb idiot can't really afford a, you know, big tower computer or, anything like that. Besides, even then, you know, I'll eventually get there someday, and even then, if I had that, I'd have to spend hours and hours upon learning how to edit. Which I'm thinking I maybe go to college for, to learn about editing, but that's something to not worry about right now. As far as other mouthful modes go, the cone is just really fun to use, and basically that's all I really have to say about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I am so excited for this game when it finally releases, and once I do play it and I beat it, I will give a proper review on the entire game, looking at it critically. And again, this is just a first impressions, gushing over how much I love it, and for a Nintendo Switch game, it looks fucking beautiful. And Kirby, I'm so glad you are finally entering 3D. So, thank you all so much for watching. Please do consider subscribing, hitting the bell down below to get notified every time I upload a video. And if you enjoyed this video, I would consider giving it a like. And, you know, comment down below. What other games would you like to see me review or give my first impressions on? As always, I will see you in the next video. Bye.